Greetings from the Sussex coast. I'm ATTILA the STOCKBROKER from Brighton. Lovely to see the Red Poets again. Absolutely brilliant. I've got the DJ set going behind me. I was hoping he was going to I could rap to it, but he changed the beat, unfortunately, so I can't. So I'm going to start with this one. You've got to be young and black to rap, right? So I've no chance, because I'm old, punk rock and white. You've got to be young and black to rap. Rock, anyone can rap. All right, punk rock songs, so don't look at me with scorn or derision. I don't accept boundaries of culture division. I'm MC ATTILA and I'm right in your face. So listen up, folks, because I ain't going no place. This rap's called Spirit of the Age. All my life, I'm going to be on stage. Billions of ideas buzzing around my head, and I'll be rapping till the day I'm dead. Age 48, I wasn't today. Rancid rule. Joe Strummer is my soulmate. 49, I was doing just fine. Reading in the right of a verbal vision. I'm 50, I was nifty. So don't look at me like I'm sad or I'm shifty. 51, I'd have had some fun when Brighton scored 10 and Crystal Palace scored none. 52, I was talking to you, and I make more sense to Blink 182. 53, top of the tree. Red rebel rhymes and rapping rebel poetry. 54, like I said before, showing a fascist, I'll show him the floor. 55, still cutting it live. Well, boring, arty poets took a nosedive. 56, I was high in the mix. This old punk rocker, I learned some new tricks. 57, still first 11. Drinking real ale like it's manna from heaven. 58, I was fueling debate, giving it straight to the 51st state. 59, laying down the line, pulling out words and watching them intertwine. 60, still demanding attention. I won't be drawing my punk rock pension. As long as I'm alive, I'll be live on stage. Age of the spirit, spirit of the age. Cheers. Yeah? Oh, the beat's going right now. Okay, here we go. So this is about spoken word. When I started, there was nothing. In 1980, there was John Gibbons like Little Quincy Johnson and the beats who went before us. And now it's spoken words everywhere. And this is a bit of grime for you, seriously. I'm 61 from the Sussex coast, but that don't mean I can't do grime. Here we go. 40 years in rhyme, 36 full time, I'm still in my prime, life has been sublime. I could do some music, someone else could choose it, it would be flow and you got it, won't refuse it. Maybe not the done thing, maybe it's a young thing. I don't take a gun thing, no making it an unthing. I've been to enlighten, represented Brighton. Now we're in the Premier League, who are we going to frighten? Mate's the southernmost, I'm from the Sussex coast. Hoes are in the garden centre, ready to be toast. Don't give me no cup of tea when I'm getting up of tea. Beer is my cup of tea, high specific gravity, like the wind I'm blowing, like a river flowing. 40 years of knowing exactly where I'm going. 60 on the planet, spoken when I span it. Rapping first I run it, single not organic. Or punk on a new trip, not a special brew trip, not a stiffy blue trip, not a dissing you trip. Check it out for style, brigadiers and smile. From the other Hebrides to the 7 dimes. Beer I like it hoppy, versus like it stroppy. I remember Brother D, Grandmaster was legendary, but Euro was impossible. The change of this, I can't do it. I have to switch, I can't do that beat, it's too many syllables. I remember Brother D, Grandmaster was legendary, but Uroi was the first to show. Toaster started off this flow, ranting verse, reggae chat, hip-hop grime and all of that. We simply spoken word, voices shouting to be heard. Respect to my fellow man from Cooper Glossy Yellow Man, Stormzy, Tempest and New Right. Spoken word is doing alright. When I began there was no scene, looking back at all the speed, 40 years of chatting rhyme, having a fantastic time. Cheers. That's why normally when you DJ, you MC a DJ, you've got the DJ that actually plays the stuff that actually works. And they actually rehearse. So obviously when there's someone just doing something random in the background, it's going to be quite difficult. So I'm going to have to go off beat now because I'm going to do a completely different sort of poem. This is a poem for you lot. It's a poem that means a lot to me, but I think it will mean more to you. It's a poem that's coming home today. Starts off as a memory of being a kid, but it's a very powerful memory which has stayed with me forever since my 9th birthday, and that's what this poem is called. I'm sure it won't surprise you to learn I was a proper little show. Too clever by half, said my Victorian grandmother who lived in the flat downstairs. You spoil it, Muriel. Children should be seen and not heard. Be quiet, John. When you begin to pay a little, then you can begin to say a little. There were plenty more such epithets. If I asked what was for tea, on the day she was in charge of me, she'd always say, air pie and a walk round, or bread and pullet. And when she read about the latest exploits of the royal family, or anyone else remotely wealthy or privileged, in the pages of her beloved Daily Express, she'd often exclaim with heartfelt approval, it's not for the likes of us. When, years later, I read The Ragged Trouser Philanthropist by Robert Tressel and heard that particular servile catchphrase again, I felt retrospectively vindicated in my instinctive determination to do the exact opposite of nearly everything she told me. Despite my grandmother's best efforts, I was seen, heard and then some, in school and out. self-assured and confident, playing the violin and recorder, writing little poems and songs, and about to begin a massive project about the American Civil War based on the battle stories printed on the back of the unbelievably gory bubblegum picture cards we boys brought on our way to school. Cards with titles like Crushed by the Wheels, Wall of Corpses, and Messenger of Death. If you're male and over 50, you'll probably remember. My form teacher liked me, let me help other kids in class. I had lots of friends, and if wannabe bullies hit me, I hit them back. Like I say, a proper little show-off. It was my 9th birthday. At Hall Junior School, when it was your birthday, you couldn't wait till lunchtime, but you had to. Then he stood in front of everyone else in the canteen. A big colourful plastic cake was brought out with proper candles on it. You blew out the candles, everyone sang happy birthday, even the kids who thought you were a show-off wanker. The teachers made sure of that. And you got the chance to grab a handful of sweets from a big jar. As far as I can remember, I was the only one with a birthday that day, so I had everyone's undivided attention. I was really looking forward to it. But I never got to show off, and I didn't want to show off. My 9th birthday was different. It was October the 21st, 1966. Before we went to the canteen for lunch, and my little birthday cameo, we were told there was going to be a special assembly in the school hall. Everyone wondered what had happened. Even I realised they wouldn't have one just because it was my birthday. The headmaster, Mr. Young, came looking very sad and told us that earlier that day, a huge mountain of coal waste had engulfed a junior school like ours in a Welsh mining village called Aberfan. And many children the same age as us had lost their lives. He asked us to pray for them. We all did. Some of us cried. They still sang happy birthday in the canteen a few minutes later, but it wasn't a happy birthday at all. I kept thinking about those children. After I got home and talked to my parents and had my birthday tea with my friends, I tried to write a poem for Aberfan, but I couldn't. The poem I wanted to write was far too big for a 9-year-old. We did a collection at school, the money was sent to the disaster fund, and then, as happens when you're a child with loving parents and a supportive school, other things quickly came along to take the sadness away. But on my birthday, for the next few years, I always thought about the children of Aberfan. Years later, I learned about the underground springs below Colliery Waste at number 7 on the hill above the village, which caused the coal waste to turn to slurry and crash down on the school. Springs easily spotted on maps which were never even consulted. I learned about the negligence of the authorities and the insensitivity of the press. Some things never changed. I learned about the father who, as the inquest into his child's death declared the cause to be asphyxia and multiple injuries, shouted out, "No, sir, buried alive by the National Coal Board." I learned how a ruling was made that parents had somehow to prove their children's deaths had caused them anguish before they could benefit from the disaster fund, and that some of the money from that fund was used to clear the other waste pits above Aberfan because the Coal Board refused to pay for it to be done. I learned about the long-term psychological effects of the disaster on the whole village. In short, I learned how the lives of working-class people and working-class children were held cheap, so cheap. But that was much later. Back then, I was a child, a proper little show-off who didn't want to show off on his 9th birthday, trying to write a poem for children like him, for the children of Aberfan. Thanks. That poem is for you. From Sussex to Wales, with great respect and dry solidarity. Thanks very much. That was a hell of a lot for me. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to do another very personal poem for you now. This one's about my stepfather. To say that I didn't get on with my stepfather is an understatement. My dad died when I was 10, my mum remarried when I was 14. I left home when I was 17 because we just did not get on at all. I wrote this poem 37 years later. It's a poem of reconciliation. And I always say now, I do that poem as a metaphor for the reconciliation that we need to have in our divided country, because there is so much more that unites us than this horrible division of Brexit bollocks. This is called Never Too Late. My father died when I was 10, and when she dried her tears, Mum met you in the choir. She'd known of you for years. I was so pleased when she told me that she would be your wife, and I looked forward happily to a new man in my life. But you were the classical singer who thought rock and roll was junk, and I was the bowling boogie boy who soon became a punk. You were the civil servant who everyone had its place, and I was the left-wing activist out there in your face. Yes, you were the head of the household, and I was the stroppy kid. We wound each other up for sure. We flipped each other's lid, but later we both learned so much, and something new began. And here's a poem I wrote for you, you decent gentleman. So I went off to my own life, left you and Mum to yours. A few words about football, then the sound of closing doors. But the passing of so many years gave us both time to reflect, and slowly, oh so slowly, we forged a new respect. When you were ill the first time and found it hard to walk, I'd take you to the hospital and we would sit and talk. It felt so right and normal, and it was such a shame that it had taken all this time. Both stubborn, both to blame. Because you were the head of the household and I was the stroppy kid. We wound each other up for sure. We flipped each other's lid, but later we both learned so much and something new began. And here's a poem I wrote for you, you decent gentleman. When Mum came down with Alzheimer's, 5 years you cooked and cared, and we were round there every day, so many thoughts were shared. Your simple, honest loyalty, the vows you've made, you keep. No longer the big boss man, me, no longer the black sheep. Then came that day in hospital. The end was near, we knew. You told me, I do love you, John. I said, I love you too. You took my hand and squeezed it. Our eyes were filled with tears. The first time that we said that, it took 37 years. Because you were the head of the household and I was the stroppy kid. We wound each other up for sure. We flipped each other's lid. But later, we both learned so much and something new began. And here's a poem I wrote for you, you decent gentleman. It's never too late. Never too late. Never too late to say you love someone. And if it wasn't too late for me and John, then it's never too late for anyone. Thank you.
Love you, John.
Thank you very much. Well done to all those involved in organising this festival. It's lovely to be here. And I'm now going to do two of the obvious poems one has to write about these things. My new book, which is containing everything that I'm performing today, and it's on sale afterwards if you're interested. It's called Undaunted, and the subtext is Trump, Brexit and bladder cancer. So let's deal with them in that order. First of all, a very short poem. He's coming on Monday, and there's going to be a certain amount of people who are going to be welcoming him very much, isn't there? Teresa the appeaser met the lady garden squeezer. Her plane was in the freezer. She treated him like Caesar. He's a really dodgy geezer. Tell Queen Liz if he sees her, grab his knob with a tweezer and revoke his fucking visa. Cheers. Two poems about Brexit bollocks. I'm with Corbyn. In the middle. Bollocks to remain, bollocks to leave, bollocks to Brexit. I wrote this for my mate Ronnie Chambers in Hartlepool. Like places like Merthyr, Hartlepool, devastated community. The heart ripped out of it by closure, by horrible Tory cuts, by the most disgusting, evil, revolting government we've ever had, which even the UN says is guilty of unnecessary and cruel austerity for no reason whatsoever. I wrote this for Ronnie, a miner's son in a community where 72% voted to leave the EU and where what little they have, certainly in the dock area, has been provided with EU subsidies. It's called Take Back Control, and it's about that middle of the way. You tell me how you've suffered since the closure. I see the pain and sadness in your eyes. I feel your anger at our country's leaders who offer only platitudes and lies. The geeks, I hear so many of these stories, all different, but the message is the same. You're sick to death of scheming politicians, no longer going to play their proxy game. The referendum was your chance. You took it. They told you we'll be taking back control of jobs and factories and borders, a revolution wrapped up in a poll. The EU is a massive corporate bully, cheap labour and big profits at its core. I understand why you voted for Brexit. One chance to strike a blow in the class war. But it wasn't the EU who shut your pit down and sent Met thugs rampaging through your street. It didn't close your hospitals and workshops, smash down your union to brave defeat. No EU diktat caused the housing crisis, the poll tax, bedroom tax, or 0 hours. Now all of these were brought in by the Tories. How bad to give these bastards brand new powers. So let's take back control with strong trade unions. And let's take back control and organise. Take back control of pub and school and workplace and counter all the endless media lies. Take back control as we all stand together. No scapegoating and no divide and rule. The future is unwritten and it's daunting. Please don't let Brexit take you for a fool. Thank you. And the next one is from a purely selfish point of view. As an old punk rocker, I remember what it used to be like when I was a young punk rocker before 1992, before the customs union came in, when you had checks at the borders, and if you look like a punk rocker, very predictable things tended to happen to you, and I'm not looking forward to that happening again. I wrote this on the way back from a tour, the first tour I did with my band Barnstormer, immediately following the 2016 referendum, and it's called Rock and Roll Brexit. I actually wrote it on the ferry coming home. I've just toured with my band Barnstormer from Dunkirk to Lucerne and back through France, Belgium, Germany and Switzerland without showing a passport once. Yes, non-EU Switzerland too, a little bridge, an empty hut. In my punk rock youth, I remember how musicians had to carry carnets for our instruments when we crossed the channel. Everything down to the last spare string, painstakingly listed on a pointless green form, checked and stamped at every border, after standing with the truckers in endless queues. I remember the invasive French customs, whose credulously predictable searches for non-existent drugs took the edge off me an otherwise enjoyable tour. Search the big, posh cars driven by the suits! I'd always say, after these unimaginative custodians had finished their fruitless checks, no one imports half a ton of heroin dressed like we are. Driving a scruffy transit van with clean meat written in the dirt on one side, we hate Crystal Palace on the other, a large knob and testicles adorning the back, and empty beer bottles rolling around on the floor. We're going to have to go through all this again just because Rupert Murdoch was pissed off by the fact that no one in Brussels could have took a blind bit of notice of him. Lord give me strength! Only joking, of course. Brexit was an informed decision taken by the British people after serious consideration of the established facts presented intelligently and objectively by the rigorous guardians of the Fourth Estate. And anyone who suggests anything else is patronising and supercilious. So if in a few years' time a British number plate for a band tour in Europe becomes the equivalent of a plague sigil on a door in medieval times, and I'm once again obliged to fill in ridiculous forms, and perhaps even at my advanced age sat naked in a room with a gloved finger on my arse, as I once did in Calais in the 80s, I shall hold myself proudly to attention and celebrate the fact that I am British and we have taken back control. Thank you. So that's Brexit. Now, bladder cancer. I was diagnosed with bladder cancer in 2015. And ever since then I've been doing more and more stuff for my local football club, Brighton Hove Albion, our community scheme. Basically raising men's health awareness, doing what I can to encourage people to go to the doctor and not be frightened of it. It is frightening. When I was diagnosed I felt frightened. I'm sure some of you have been diagnosed with it too. You know, people of our age tend to get those sort of things happen. I'm still here. I went to the doctor in time. I'm having regular chest checks. It seems to be all right. So I'm writing this. I wrote this poem in solidarity with people that have been diagnosed, explaining how it felt to me and what I'm doing about it. Well, I'm keeping as fit as I can. I'm not drinking as much as I used to. That doesn't mean I'm not drinking a lot, but I'm not drinking as much as I used to. And I do a lot of cycling. In 2 weeks' time, I'm cycling from Calais to Antwerp, 172 miles in 2 days, for Albion in the community scheme, funding one-to-one coaching for kids with autism. And I'm going to have my cat downstairs along with my merch, the CDs and books and everything. If anyone wants to donate to my cycle ride, that would be much appreciated as well. This poem is about cancer, cycling and love. It's dedicated to my wife and to DLHS, and it's called In Training. I've always loved cycling, but never as much as today. 40 miles to the Sussex countryside on a beautiful spring afternoon. In training, testing myself like a boxer, preparing his body for the fight. Fitness helps post-surgical healing, they told me, and alcohol hinders it. So I've given up beer disappear until after the operation. In our criminally overstretched and underfunded NHS, with so many people in need, this red rocker doesn't want to be a bed blocker even for one day. They'll know after the biopsy. It's the wait for not knowing that's the worst. Like back in the old days of the 80s, when we knew the fascists were going to attack the gig, but we didn't know whether there would be a pathetic gaggle of scrawny 18-year-olds high on glue, one with oi tattooed on his forehead the wrong way round. She'd done a DIY job in the mirror. There honestly was one once, there really was. Or a big gang of the really hard bastards, all DMs, tattoos and nasty salutes. During the day, it's okay more or less. I have a full life and can mostly put things to the back of my mind, but at night I wake to that same recurring dark thought and sheer human fear takes hold. Then your warm arms embrace me, your soft breasts enclose me, your lips meet mine, we hold each other tight, your bush against my leg, and I'm whole again. It's a wonder and an honour to be this loved, especially given my regular deficiencies in matters of etiquette, self-effacement, you name it. And I return it with all the force of my being. I love you so much. I know how hard it is for you too. Thank you for being there. My heart goes out to those who have to face such things on their own, and my deepest respect to the people whose profession is to help them to do so. Like all those at the core of our wonderful NHS, they are the ones to be celebrated, the real celebrities, not some idiot on a game show. They need your vote and your campaigning. Victory to the junior doctors, victory to Jeremy Corbyn, long live the NHS. I've always loved cycling, but never as much as today. 40 miles through the Sussex countryside on a beautiful spring afternoon. In training, testing myself like a boxer, preparing his body for the fight. Legs pumping, muscles flexing, thoughts racing, blood coursing, bursting with life. Cheers. Now, if you've got bladder cancer, there's a specific treatment that you have to have. I wrote this in between, as I say, between the diagnosis and finding how bad it was. I got the good news, which was I had stage 1 in my bladder. I had to be scraped out, and that is done by a process known as flexible cystoscopy. As are all the tests that you have afterwards. Once you've actually had the operation, they test you via a process called flexible cystoscopy. I am now an expert on flexible cystoscopy. This is a poem about flexible cystoscopy. Some people won't know what it is. You're about to find out very, very graphically in the next minute and a half. This poem is called Candid Camera. I know that I can sometimes be a loud-mouthed, stroppy brat. I know I'm a control freak, and a bossy one at that. My wife says when I'm eating, I am a total slob. I'm still not sure that I deserve the camera up my knob. The poor thing shriveled up in fear, but it was hardly there. A tiny little pimple in a nest of pubic hair. The camera made its entrance, the pain cut like a knife, and then I saw my bladder for the first time in my life. I'm glad that it went up there though, sad of what it found, but it can come back any time to help you stay around. So 3 cheers for the NHS and for that camera crew. And if you're feeling Lord down there, you get it checked out too. Thank you. I know it's a great time, thanks for inviting me. This one's for Bob Bright. No, I didn't know actually I'm going to do this one. This is for the Aubrey Truth and Justice campaign. Still fighting for truth and justice. We've got it to an extent at Hillsborough. We need for Aubrey now. This is called Never Forget. I'm from a Sussex port town in Shoreham Harbour, in West Sussex, where they used to ship scab coal through. And that's how I first got kind of politicised. I was 14 years old, going fishing across the locks in my local harbour. And I saw these people standing there with banners. It was 1972, the first strike. And I asked them what they were doing, and they said, we're here because we're from Kent, we're miners from Kent, and they're shipping coal. And explained it to me how they were shipping unauthorised coal from abroad to break the strike. And that was my first introduction to radical politics. And it went against what my stepfather was telling me, who I didn't get on with, and it went against a lot of what a lot of people in the local community were saying. And I thought for myself, and I realised that we were right and they were wrong. This is called Never Forget. I remember my stepfather moaning in the first strike in 72. Miners holding the country to ransom. I was 14. I thought about you. You worked underground, often in danger. Hewed the coal we depended upon. He earned more checking tax forms in Brighton. I knew then just whose side I was on. I remember Kent Pickett's at Shoreham when our port bosses shipped in scab coal. By the time they were back 12 years later, a new anger burned deep in my soul. You'd won once, but this time will be harder. For your foe was no bumbling heath. It was Thatcher. Revenge, her agenda. A class warrior, armed to the teeth. You were miners on strike for your future, for your pits, your communities, ways. We were punks, poets, anarchists, lesbians, theatre groups, Rastafarians, gays. Different worlds in a rainbow alliance, fired up and determined to win. And Thatcher loved us all together, punk or miner, the enemy within. As a poet, I crisscrossed the country, from Durham to Yorkshire to Kent, doing benefits, arguing, learning, raising funds that were so quickly spent, playing a tiny role in that great battle which you fought so hard and to the last, a battle so proudly remembered, now that 40 long years have gone past. I remember those pictures from Orgreave, police faces contorted with hate, the communities brutalised, battered by the raw, naked power of the state. If we took guns and tanks to defeat you, she'd use guns and tanks on you too. The veneer of democracy shattered, the hired thugs of the privileged few. After Orgreave came Wapping, then Hillsborough. With the press and police on her side, Thatcher smiled as those printers were beaten and 96 football fans died. She had a quite brazen agenda, summed up perfectly well when she said that there's no such thing as a society. Don't blame us for being glad that she's dead. Not the bankers destroy the economy, and the poor and the sick get the blame. And our once proud and strong labour movement is shackled and timid and tame. But this poet will always remember the brave men and women I met. We will carry on fighting for justice, and will never, no never forget. Thank you. Sorry for any Cardiff fans here. We were very boring, but we managed to stay up. Our second season in the Premier League. 2 years before that, we got to the last game of the season. We needed to beat Middlesbrough to get promotion. We only drew. Let's go into the playoffs. The first leg was at Hillsborough, and I was standing there feeling aggrieved that we were in the playoffs, and I realised where I was and where I was standing. And I wrote this poem. It's called the Leppings Lane. It's where the away fans stand or sit, although we stand because we're bullshit. It's called the Leppings Lane, and it's dedicated to the 96. It looks so different now, but I still recall how in this place there was horror and fear. Some people I know simply don't want to go. Are we there? As I am every year. When I'm Hillsborough bound, the same thought comes around when the cause is short bursts to be penned. The best antidote to that old Shankly quote is to stand in the Leppings Lane. We all have our dreams and our hopes for our teams, and we sing till we die in our youth. Those folks sang, then they died. The police and press lied. It took 27 years for the truth. So if, as they may, whence they beat us today, for this comforting thought I hold fast. We walk out of that ground and get home safe and sound for the 96. Justice at last. And this one. Comrade earlier on, sorry I've forgotten your name mate, showed me his pamphlet, his book, called From Aberfan to Grenfell, and we have exactly the same thoughts. So this is called Keeping Up Appearances. The clue's in the name, Royal Borough. We serve Knightsbridge, not Latimer Road. We're here for our quality voters, with a moneyed and tasteful postcode. We tolerate you since we have to, and we help that you'll soon move elsewhere. Until then, we'll do our legal duty. If you cause any problems, beware. Your flats are all crumbling eyesores. Your neighbours are your social betters. They pay millions to live in this area. Some are next door to scroungers and debtors. So it's time to refurbish your building. Not with fire doors, sprinklers and care, but with cladding to make it look nicer so the rich can pretend you're not there. It's unsafe, you proclaim. That's just rubbish. We've been running it this way for years. Just be great for your house in this borough and make sure that you're not in arrears. You use skins on your homes, they look lovely. Regulations and standards are met, all done legally and within budget. So get on with your lives and don't fret. Those new skins cause that ghastly inferno. but that council is still in control. Though some will be charged with manslaughter and the rest will relieve of their role. As the people cry, justice for Grenfell, in the name of those folk left alone, in a world where appearances mattered more than flesh, skin, hair, muscle and bone. Thank you. Another personal one now. I'm sure you all have relatives that you've argued with about politics, especially recently. I wrote this to my aunt. During my mum's long battle with Alzheimer's, my aunt would come round and help, and her idea of helping was to sit there spouting the day's editorial from the Daily Express. Knowing how I felt about that, knowing how my mum, or what was left of her, felt about that, she still did it. Rather than strangle her, which would make a difficult situation even more difficult, I wrote this poem. It's called Poison Pensioner. Dedicated to any one of you who have people like this in your life. It goes like this. I tried to work it out, but I just can't see how a cretin like you is related to me. You're just one brain cell and that one's a mess. Parroting rubbish from the Daily Express. No, not the Sun. You'll say that was a rag. Delusions of grandeur from a jumped up hag. But don't get ideas. You're as thick as a shoe. Poison Pensioner, this poem's for you. I've had it up to here and I'm cutting up rough. Distant relative? Not distant enough. Ever thought of space travel? Prejudiced cow? I'd suggest Uranus, but you're up there right now. You've a monochrome vision of a world that's dead. A million Reader's Digests inside your head. I'd like to put vomit in your cheese fondue. Poison Pensioner, this time's for you. You worked all your life in the public sector, and all you ever did was whine and hector, moan at the people who fought your cause, cheer for the Tories and their union laws. You were born in a council house, you clueless bitch, but you side with the right and you vote with the rich, barring and scraping to the privileged few. Poison Pensioner, this time's for you. You've a medal for meddling, that's for sure. If this was my house and I'd show you the door, but my mum needs help and you're here to see her, so I sit and I listen to your verbal gonorrhea. Right now, I wish I was in her head, because mum won't remember a word you've said. Your compassionate actor's got a bad review. Poison Pensioner, this time's for you. Bossy yet servile. Some combination. Paralysed spine of a lit spittle nation. Could have been a builder, ended up a tall, lifelong victim of divide and rule. You're a ragged trousered philanthropist who wasn't even waiting for the boat you missed. You're a turkey voting for Christmas too. Poison Pensioner, this poem's for you. Cheers. Another very personal poem. This one's called Auntie Rose. It's about my Auntie Rose, although she wasn't my aunt, she was my great aunt. Another memory. I'm so touched by your response to my other campaign, by the way. Thank you so much for that. Auntie Rose. Auntie Rose lived next door to us here in Southwick. 20s flapper hat, 20s clothes, 20s shoes. It was 1964. Faded but still glamorous. Retired buyer for Debenhams of Brighton, never married. Every Tuesday after primary school, I go around for tea. Tea, herring rolls on toast, cheese and onion crisps, a game of snack, then home to bed. Every Tuesday I'd marvel at their outside toilet with the big spiders, a garden with the stag beetles, a living room with furniture from a bygone age and a grandfather clock from an even more bygone age, and a mantelpiece crammed with stuff. There were two pictures on it. One of her as a little girl standing with the Southwick football team in the 1890s, and one of a man standing in a field leaning on a rifle. I'd always wondered, so one day, aged about 8, I asked the question, Auntie Rose, why did you never get married? She smiled and pointed to the photo. The man in the photo is the man I was going to marry. He was killed in the First World War. I never loved anyone else, so I never got married, John. That's why. I looked at her. That's really sad, Auntie. She smiled bravely. We had another game of snack. Thanks. Right, I'd like to say, at the end of my set there will be a short break, and then my mates of many, many years, the mighty Newtown Neurotics from Harlow and Essex will be playing. So please, stick around for some punk rock heaven. And tell your mates and tell everyone who's over there to come listen to the Neurotics. So, this one for Bob Crow. I met him a few times. One of our great union leaders. Why is it that the good ones die early and the bad ones are still here? There was a man who stood his ground, fought every inch and won the day. His legacy is members' law, good work conditions, decent pay. By Tories and their tabloid dukes and those who seek more than their share, just like Millwall, his favourite team, he wasn't liked and didn't care. But those who work in transport knew their leaders stood right by their side. No management would lay them low. They wore their union badge with pride. He spoke for passengers as well. Safety, not profit, always first. Opposing fatal funding cuts. Paddington, Potter's Bar, the worst. Bob Crow, a boxer's grandson, he led with the left and packed a punch. The bosses knew he'd take them on. No smarmy smile, no cosy lunch. We need more like him, that's for sure. Upfront and honest to the last. He bargained hard and kept his word. A union leader unsurpassed. As 0 hours contracts grow and bosses offer Hobson's choice, let us not moan but organise. Get off our knees and find our voice. This man worked hard for workers' rights. A fair wage, a safe, steady job. So join a union and stand firm. That's the best way to honour Bob. Cheers. Now a different sort of poem again. This is a punk rock poem about punk rock band names and the one that got missed out. My mum had Alzheimer's, my mother-in-law sadly now has it, and she's in a home very close to us, at home, and we went round one day and there was a sign on the door which said, "No visitors today please, outbreak of winter vomiting bug." And I turned to my wife and said, "You know darling, if this was 1981 there'd have been a band called that had done a single on Crass Records, it would have had pay no more than 49p in the bottom right-hand corner, and because there's no A's in winter vomiting bug, they've circled the N's, because that means nihilism." And so anyway, this is a poem about old punk rock bands. So I invented a punk rock band who started in 1981 and reformed in 2016 to do a legendary one-off gig at the George Roby, which you probably haven't heard. Anyone here been to George Roby? Yeah. It was about George Roby's an interesting place. I'm from the Sussex port town. I know tidal systems. The George Roby was the only pub I've ever been to which had a tidal system in the jets. Basically, if you didn't have at least 8 old DMs, you had no chance at all. So this is about punk rock band names. The other things to say, all the bands mentioned in this, apart from Winter Vomiting Bug, have existed or in one case still does. And the Broken Toilet in Slough isn't actually a pub in Slough. There was a pub called that. But there could have been lots of pubs called it all over the place because after Crass toured, because some of the Crass's most hardcore followers slightly misunderstood their basic main slogan. So here we are, the return of Winter Vomiting Bug. I thought that they had gone for good. A bloody tragic loss. But then I got a flyer at a Pukes gig in New Cross. The solid wall of armpit stench encased in rotting leather. The kings of crust and narco thrash are getting back together. The flyer's here. Well, what a lineup. Take a look at this. There's Dog Shit Sandwich playing first. The Bugs. Then Seats of Piss. Slick on the Bus are headlining. You coming with me, mate? The gig's at the George Roby. Sure, it's been knocked down. That's great. What's that? It's all a wind-up? There isn't such a band. Your memory's not what it was. Of course I understand. We saw them. Broken Toilet, Slough, way back in 81 with Rudimentary Penile. A classic gig, my son. It's there we heard the Bugs first play their great Anarcho song. Yeah, Smash the System. Bloody ace. Of course they spelt it wrong. It was a pun. Real clever stuff. The Broken Toilet, see? They named the song after the pub. Don't look like that to me. They got some brilliant t-shirts too. It's not a joke, you brat. A big stag beetle being sick, wearing a Santa hat. One large chance at the Roby, mate. It's going to be sublime. It's not until April the 1st, so we've got loads of time. Cheers. And then of course this little imaginary band called Roots. And so here's someone called, for a minute I'm going to turn into Borghead, the lead singer of Winter Vomiting Bug, and I'm going to do their reunion single, Smash the System, like a cappella. Stinking armpits, rotting leather, better watch out, we're back together. Scrumpy is our favourite drug. We are Winter Vomiting Bug. All these years we've been away, now we're back and we're here to stay. We still love the mess we make when we go for a toilet break. Loyal to our punk rock roots, in our Dr. Martin boots. Crash got it right in 84. Smash the System, piss on the floor. 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 Johnny Rotten said destroy, now it's just a media toy, no longer makes toys splutter, in the jungle flogging butter, in our 60s got no hair, we still punk and we don't care, if your pub's got a nice clean toilet, we're the bugs and we're gonna spoil it, loyal to you punk rock roots, in our Dr. Martin boots, Crash got it right in 84, smash the System, piss on the floor, loyal to our punk rock roots, in our Dr. Martin boots, Crash got it right in 84, because with the vomiting bugs, greatest race is Crass, and they don't do covers, but they decided to do a Crass tribute. So this is their Crass tribute. So if you know So What by Crass, you'll get this. If you don't, hopefully you'll find it funny. I'm never used to happy, I'm not sad. It's not something I've ever had. If you want us to start a fight, because I don't want to be polite. That's not on my t-shirt, I'm not cross. That's not on my jeans too, I don't give a toss. That's not on my wife's dress I just bought her. You won't find me using soap and water. I throw used tissues in the bins. I've got mucus running down my chins. I'm a big fan of nasal slime. I eat bogies at breakfast time. That's not on my jacket and all over my shoulder. I realise the truth as I get older. I get to see what fun it is to pick my nose at the pop quiz. They say they're going to send me away. They're going to make me pay. But you should see my wife. She picks her nose with a knife. That's not. Cheers. I think that winter vomiting bug on my leg. There is going to be a winter vomiting bug in here. Guitarist, so we've got Boggett on vocals, Prince Albert on guitar, Boggett's wife, Sick Bag on bass, and Shitbin on drums. So at some point this will happen. So I'm going to do two more for you. Thanks so much for listening. As I say, I'm going to drag the big suitcase out afterwards. If you're interested in buying a book or a CD or and he's sponsoring my cycle ride, you're very, very welcome to do so. This poem is sad and determined. It's about my boots, which are shoes today and often are these days. It's called My Dr. Martens. It's one of the saddest poems I've had to write in recent time. I was about 16 when I bought my first pair, cherry red, like that Groundhog song and the lovely record label named after it, which published my early albums and more than 30 years later, my autobiography. Since then, we've had the same relationship as Tories have, with the poor and disadvantaged. I've looked down on them constantly. This poet has measured out his life, not with coffee spoons, but lace hole numbers, and his cherry blossom has always come in a tear. The number of holes diminished as the years advanced. In the Scar Wars of the 70s and 80s, when Babylon burned, the screwdriver twisted, and we stared at the rude boys at a ghost town called Manus, there were 12, with turns to show them off. They were my trident, a sensible deterrent, which cost 20 quid, not billions, and when it failed, as it occasionally did, caused minor local damage to some bigoted bonehead bully, rather than blowing up the whole planet. Of course, there was the odd bit of incoming fire, and the jacket was on the other foot, and the smell of brown leather blended in with the weather. I'm here to tell the tale. Time passed. We thought, plenty more battles, but that one's over. We rocked and rucked against racism and won. By the middle 90s there were 10 holes, then 8 or 6, and now in the summer at least, I mostly wear the shoes. A couple of years ago I found a pair of 12s in a long unexplored cupboard. Songs and phrases came into my head, I smiled, and my wife took them to the charity shop where she worked. On Friday the 9th of November 2016, the day Trump was elected president with a minority of the popular vote, 5 months after the chaos of Brexit, the racist crow, the internet threats began again. Enjoy it while it lasts, we will crush you, traitor. Although I am 61 years old, I wish those 12-hole GMs were still in the cupboard, but I still have the 8 and the 6. I don't want to fight anyone, I never have, but we will not bow to this hatred. We didn't win after all. Get your boots on, folks. It's starting again. It's starting again. Thanks. Cheers. Like I said, please stick around for my great friend Susan Roberts, who's going to meet me after this. This is my last one. And as I say, I'll put some CDs afterwards if you're interested. Just down there. This is called My Poetic License. Respect to the great poets. Love to hear you again, comrades. And hopefully we'll do another one somewhere. And again, soon, great poetry, great real stuff. Lovely to be part of your community. I want to dedicate this set, as I always do, to my two favourite Welsh performers, Dave Dapluggy, the mighty Dapluggy, and John Cale from Ghana. So it's lovely back in Wales. It's the last one. It's called My Poetic License. Yo, I'm an MC of Writing Global Poetry, and I'm a history of my identity. I'm independent of Red Cottage Industry, DIY from here to eternity. Let me tell you what's been going on. I take inspiration from centuries long gone. Oral tradition of sedition, that's my position. Local jester with a tame disposition. Poetic license, 39 years I've had one. But they don't come easy, they're not handed out for fun. You have to earn it, work and sweat and move, not get stuck in a dead poet born groove. I earn money, dirty, scummy punk cunts, art centres, rock gigs, festivals, and dodgy pubs. Here's once or twice I've had to fight. And when a fascist hits a poet, the poet's doing something right. I love words, and I love them in the red and raw. I like to use them in ways I've not been used before. I want you to laugh, I want you to think as well. Bollocks to TV. This is live as hell. Oral tradition. Three origins of poetry. ATTILA the Stockbroker, ranting rebel MC, Dean of the Social Surrealist University. Welcome to my wild poetic journey. Thanks very much for listening. About 10 minutes to anyway. See you everybody. Thanks very much. Great, good festival. Please join us. Merthyr Rising. Respect.